was doing stuff, Joe. I was going to contact you after the school year was a little further in.
We got it now. Yeah.
My college son is now living in Oakland.
Oh, nice.
Trying to get settled in.
So I'm going to interrupt these people and say that we are we are Teacher Seeking Teachers here. Show 501 at edtechtalk.com/TTT. And if you are seeing us on YouTube, where we're streaming for any rate, who knows which channel we're on, but we're talking to each other here. We're trying to figure out the new YouTube Hangout hookup. But really, what we're here for is to talk about NowComment and some exciting news that is ready to be released. We're scooping it tonight. Dan Dornberg is coming on and going to talk about annotating images and video and audio too, right? If the audio is embedded video and audio, I think. So we'll learn more about this. My favorite two annotators, I called them first. Joe Parisiio did an amazing project around can't think tonight. No, lenses and literary lenses, and Joe will help me describe that a little bit more. And I think it was a really interesting use of NowComment. And Terry Elliott is the amazing annotator. But the favorite thing that Terry also reminds us, just as a way of introduction, is that we can do too much, putting stuff on the web too. And so, anyway, figuring things out here tonight with exciting previews, and Chris Sloan is with us as well. Chris, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Chris Sloan, and I teach high school English and media at Judge Memorial in Salt Lake City. And
you're on day 6, right?
What's that?
You're on day 6 or 7.
Already. Yeah, we're back in week 2. It's day 8 already.
Day 8. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not looking haggard yet.
Cool. Yeah, we're starting earlier every year, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to be here because when I heard like video annotation and things like that, that's the kind of thing I'd like my students to do. So that seems cool.
They're invited for sure.
So I'm not sure where to start because I do want to get into some stories around Joe's experience with NowComment and Terry's experience with annotating in general and so forth. But why don't you say what you hope to announce next week, Dan, and then, but very briefly, and then we'll get into it a little bit.
Sure. Well, very briefly, NowComment has always handled images and videos, SoundCloud audio streams as well, but it hasn't been quite the same in-context experience that we've offered with text documents. And we've, in the last few months, kind of racing to get ready for the school year, we've gotten it ready so that the experience is now much improved. And I think it was pretty good before, it's helpful, but now it's really in context. And I'll give a little demo, in a few minutes whenever. Obviously, it's a visual kind of a thing, so rather than describe it, it's to show you.
And Dan, and others jump in on this too. Can you give if somebody's listening this first time, I realized I should have done a NowComment 101 for people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that in a nutshell. So NowComment is a public interest group. It's non-commercial. It's kind of my own thing, I suppose. But we've been at this for 16 years, non-commercial. And what NowComment is the public interest group is fairness.com. NowComment is a software project of fairness.com, and NowComment is a web-based document discussion tool. So it's always done multimedia as well as text, images, and videos. And I don't know the tool. I haven't researched to this definitively, but I actually do think we're the most powerful, at least that I know of, for annotating all three media types. So we're really excited about that.
And Terry, can you put it in a little context? You know lots of tools, right? So
Yeah,
how would you yeah.
I'd have to agree with Dan in that for a while Flickr gave up on its notating capability. You know, for a while, Flickr was really nice. In fact, that's how I got into Flickr, was the fact that it had annotations. We could add notes to pictures. It was really quite simple and elegant, and it worked well. And then all of a sudden, when Yahoo bought them, I think it was when Yahoo bought them, it went poof, and it disappeared. I guess they were trying to emulate Google there, you know, just destroy all the valuable things that people love.
Well, and they've been bought again, so who knows what's going to happen.
Yes, I know. Yeah, we really don't know, but and they've also added the notes capacity back into Flickr again, so you can actually put notes and pictures again on Flickr. But you know, Dan's product NowComment is. I use Hypothesis a lot. I use Digo, but Dan's is the only product where I can easily use the image annotation software, and it's just really cool. And with that split screen that NowComment has, it's just, you know, you've got the image on one side and you've got the text on the other, and it's easy for people to jump in, and it's a threaded discussion once you get going. And I found I did a political cartoon on NowComment, and I was experimenting with how would this work as just kind of a lesson, and it just flowed really easily. You know, I had a basic idea about how to analyze a political cartoon, and then I used the boxes to do exactly that. And then I had a couple of people come in. Yeah, highlighted parts of the cartoon and talked about the text and talked about the context. And the really cool thing about it is you can add documents as you go. So one of the documents is just the political cartoon, but you know, you can add other documents like I added some stuff from Snopes.com because there was a reference in the comic to the Purple Heart. You know, Donald Trump has had this Purple Heart thing going where he got that medal from a vet, and so I added some documents. So I added some more context to it. So what you end up with is a course in a box. In a way, it's the tiny course in a box, and it's because NowComment has these really neat, almost Blackboard-like controls. And I don't usually talk in Blackboard in good terms, but in this case, you can tell it when to start accepting comments, when to stop accepting comments, how the comments can be public or private. I mean, it just has it's a whole thing, just like you said. Now, with something like Hypothesis, I mean, I use that as well in class, and the learning curve in some ways is a little bit easier, but it can't do images. And I use Vialogs.
I've also found it less conducive to conversation too, you know. But because of the threaded, I mean, it does thread the same, but for whatever reason. But and Dan and I have talked about this. I kind of feel like it's not about, you know, competing between tools, right?
No, not at all.
Because once you become a social reader, right, and an annotator, you'll find all sorts of tools to use, and teachers will too, I think.
Yeah, something like Goodreads is a social reading tool. If you've used that before, if you've read a book with somebody on Goodreads, or, I mean, you know, Kindle has the highlighting and a note-taking system that people can actually see what you're reading and what you're commenting on.
Cool. Great context. Thank you, Luis. Say hello.
Hi.
Luis Balso. What school do you teach in?
I'm at a new school. I'm at Park Slope, a new school to me, Park Slope Collegiate in Brooklyn.
Super. Welcome. And frequent user of Youth Voices, and we hope continues to be this year. So thank you. Dan, would you mind if Jo jumps into her story of what she did? And I don't know if we can show it or not. Can you work on? We will get to the big announcement here too, but I think these stories are kind of important. Is that cool?
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is there any way to show Jo's page? I should have asked you that before we started here.
I could, with Joe's permission, I can, as super system administrator, I can go in and do stuff like that. Do you mind, Jo?
Go ahead.
So, Jo, start talking about what you did, and then sort of the big project too. Yeah.
It's like it was part of like a whole unit where we were trying to build conceptual understanding of these different theory lenses, and this was us trying to look through the same story, the same text together. You're about to hear a 1-year-old baby jump in on the conversation. But
great annotation.
We were reading a short story called Desiree's Baby and annotating it through multiple theory lenses: the Marxist, feminist, post-colonial, reader response. And we really tried to use the functions of NowComment, where I could turn the commenting on and off, so that the kids had a chance to add their add their comment, without worrying about, I guess, the live nature of it, because we were still at a place where they were getting used to that, all of that, and just they could compose their thoughts and take their time. And what was really cool was that then the next part was, of course, now you have to respond to multiple people. And because they're all operating from this, they're all trying to grasp what these lenses are. Different kids have different mastery at that point of ones that make sense to them. Some really get the money lens and could talk through it. Some really get the gender lens and can talk through it. So,
but then they get to see each other's, right? So that.
Then they get to see each other's, and so it was a really, I introduced it, I really like the social reader term, and we didn't get beyond our classroom in terms of reading together, but in and of itself, that was really powerful. I would be really interested to see about doing that together with other classrooms, just to see what happens. I mean, because I think now I feel a lot more comfortable. I'm really excited to see about the video piece and annotating images and the like, because we have a lot of that in these first 6 weeks. So we would definitely love to play. Yeah, like next week.
Dan, did you find it?
I'm zooming in on it. Yeah.
Can you share your screen then?
Well, I'm in her user account, so I'm a little, all this kind
Can't see passwords, can you?
Well, not passwords, but like kids' names and kids, that kind of. I just don't know what people's sensitivities are.
What do you think, Jo? Can you show the page quickly?
All of the kids signed releases to have, like, they've been on. This was a very public class, so I mean.
Is this in the English? Okay, sure. Let me jump back and everyone can look over Jo's shoulder.
So, Jo almost broke a NowComment with this project, I gotta say, right? Not really, but there are a lot of comments.
There were 800 something, but I was gonna say we were really proud. Like it didn't. I don't think it broke a sweat particularly. But Google would like to share.
Yeah, it was a joke, Dan.
No, but that's how rumors get started. Can't have rumors. Okay, so I'm hitting the screen share.
No, but to make a point, and we're not comparing, right? But NowComment does handle 800 comments on a story really well. So yeah, go ahead if you can share.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I would make that point is, I mean, for us, when we were designing, this was, as I often say when I'm on TTT, we were originally designed for political activism kinds of things. So one of our specs was if you had a lot of comments, we had to have an interface that wasn't going to break. So that was built into it at the beginning. And one of the sort of important things I think is that we don't use highlighting. so that when you have a lot of people marking up a lot of documents, it avoiding highlighting for us is just a really basic design. How about Desiree's baby? Is that the document?
Yeah, that's the one.
Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this sign here.
Just so people can see what it looks like a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, it's going to take a second. It's loading because it's got a lot of comments. But yeah, so there's other 185, 135, but.
And it hasn't been said yet, but it's been implied in people's comments already. There is a whole spectrum of how private or public or you can make your comments and the document itself, right? Is that a fair thing to say?
I don't know if it's a spectrum, but it's definitely a digital yes or no, public or private. A document can either be open to the internet, but the default is, it starts out being it's your document, and then you invite people that you want to it. So in Joe's case,
so it could just be your class, right?
You could start out.
It could just be if you.
Right. You could upload a document. I say I'm going to share it with just my co-teacher, see what he or she thinks. If that gets approved, then I'll share it to the class. The class will make some comments. Then I'll open it up to the whole internet. Or I could open it to Chris's class.
Or to another school.
Or to another school or another person, or have a guest come in and invite a particular individual. So it's very granular like that.
That's what it's.
So yeah, this is her document.
Good.
So the thing I would point out, one of our other design specs is the document. It has to be really easy to read. So we use these pretty unobtrusive thought balloons.
Yeah, can you show it as you're talking?
Oh, I thought I was.
No, you're not yet.
Oh, shoot. Okay, well, that's no good. Yeah, that changes the banter quite a bit, doesn't it? Share.
There you go.
You like that better?
Not yet. You
All
got
right.
to choose the other screen. Yep.
How about this?
Close it!
Perfect.
Yay!
Okay.
Everyone likes Desiree's baby.
So, what is this story? It's a story by Kate Chopin. Yep, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Describe what you were saying, Dan.
Oh, okay. Well, the point is that the document has to be legible. That was a really another important design spec, along with the not using highlighting. So this paragraph has 34 comments, but if you're interested in this paragraph, you click on the thought balloons and it highlights what they are. But if you're not interested in this, you kind of keep reading and like, okay, this paragraph has 43 comments, but you can still read it really nicely. And you just wouldn't now. And Joe's using the highlighting. Yellow means important for her. You can customize that. But anyway, so without the highlighting, it'd be maybe even a little bit, slightly more readable. I mean, it's not a problem at all. But anyway, this sentence.
Did the underlining represent a lens, Joe, or was it what Dan just said? The underlining, did that represent a particular lens, or how did you distinguish the lenses?
The kids were the ones distinguishing.
Oh, so they put feminists in the first box and then they put their comment. Got it.
Exactly.
I see.
Yeah, that was the way. It was like we tried to pick the best way to identify it quickly. And again, we were novice at this, so we lucked out on the first try.
I see the answer to my question though. So when NowComment comes up, there is a small box at the top, and then there's a larger box to add more comments. So in the small box at the top, you had them identify the lens, and then underneath they put their comment. Cool.
I mean, we have the two fields, the kind of the summary field or the short take field, and then the longer take.
Yep.
That's what you're referring to?
That's correct.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So anyway, this document has 750, so about 780 comments on it, but it's totally readable.
Mm-hmm.
And when you first, I don't know if you notice if I refresh it, when you first come to the document, it only shows the paragraph comments.
And can you scroll through the comments a little more?
Sure. Yeah, you can. The two panes are independent. So if a lot of people like to read comments. So I'll just scroll down toward the bottom, pretty random. So Sergio said something, they're not eye to eye with things. So if I'm curious what that's referring to, it happened to be on the same, it'll scroll to show you. If you could read all of the comments, and now you see what Janellis wanted to say, when you click on that, it'll scroll to the part that her comment's about, so you want to see it in context. That was the key idea at the beginning of NowComment.
Cool. Show us sorted while you're here.
I'm sorry, show us what?
I wasn't clear enough. I don't have my tongue. Show us sorted while you're here.
Sure. Okay. So as a teacher, you have 860 comments or so, you don't want to necessarily keep them all in mind. So everything is in a database. Go back up to the top here. This is just taxing it because this is
take a minute. Yeah.
What it'll do is it'll let her choose. Do I want to sort all these? Here we go. Do I want to do it by last name, by first name, by when the students made the comment? So the default is by last name. So, or the other kids, students. You can go through and see that Roberta, she made 26 comments, but it's not just a quantitative thing. You can actually see what the quality of her comments is. And you can compare that to Moad, who had 6 comments, but whatever. And Arnold.
And again, you can click on any of those, and it goes right to the text that the comment's referring to. It all stays connected.
Yeah. You let's see. I'm trying to remember how that works.
You just click out in the blank area.
Yeah, I never do. I
think it works. There you go.
I don't have to grade people anymore, so I don't do it.
Doesn't that work? It does, I think.
Anyway, so that's what the sorted is. The other thing I like to
view in context as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Before you leave, can you tell me, is there a way can you tag and sort by tags?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
It's right here. If their students gave tags, so one of the examples I think of is, with the political season coming up, you could have the students mark up something with, Republican perspective, Democratic perspective. And again, normally this is real quick. Her document just has so many comments.
In this case, also they could have used the tags for a lens as well, right?
Yeah, you can have multiple.
Just another option.
Multiple tags. Yeah. There's lots of ways to do that. Shoot, there's something. Oh, just a quick thing on a document like this that has so many comments. The other feature that I don't think NowComment gets as much attention as I think it should is the summaries field. So again, it's going to take a while just because there's so many. But okay, what you can do is, if you're the teacher and you've got to look at what everybody said 10 minutes before class, you can flip through and just see like what's the main. And in Joe's case, because they just gave maybe 1 or 2 word perspectives, it's not going to be as valuable. But in a more normal kind of a use, or a more standard kind of use, if you see something, you say, oh, I wonder what that student. I'm kind of curious what that student meant, and then you click it, and then you see the full comment. So it's a way for anyone, not just a teacher, to skim, kind of get a sense of what everyone is talking about, and then go into detail, for the interesting to you. So again, our idea was that you would have, say, a political speech or something, and you might have 10,000 comments on it, and
it's still scalable. Yeah.
We spent a lot of time trying to figure out what interface is going to make that work.
Dan, how deep do the replies go? How many levels can it go down?
It'll keep going down until you run out of screen space, and it'll keep going, but then it'll start to become a little bit illegible because everything will just be in a line, and you can't quite tell who's who. But you could have 20, 50, 100 back. We don't limit it. It's just meant to be totally scalable. And you just have to get one of those projector screens like on the side of the building, and then you increase your capacity quite a bit.
There are other features too. I want to rush in and say one of the big differences between NowComment and some other tools like Hypothesis is that you take the document and you put it in NowComment. So so for me, that's some of the decision making I make. Like if it's a document that's being updated all the time. So Hypothesis seems to make more sense to me, right? Because that's sort of a live place and on the internet. Whereas, yeah, so it's in this case you have to upload the document to NowComment, and there's a little bit of a learning curve there to make it look good and all that. But Dan and others are really helpful with making that happen. If you ever have a problem with that. Dan, while you're here, do you want to get to why we invited you here tonight? Visual annotation. And
I would be remiss if I didn't take you up on that. So this is, let's see. This is old NowComment. I mean, it's not really old, except in the way it handles videos and images. So we have this picture that's got 4 comments on it. But it's not really in context totally because I don't know what those 4 comments are about. If I click on it, I can see what the 4 comments are about, but it's not visual the same way that NowComment text comment, where you see those comment balloons on the particular sentence on the paragraph. Anyway, so that's what we've just really redone. And then, this is still not totally final, but where'd the other? Oh gosh, I was clicking around and it.
Take your time. We can find it. So.
Oh, I'm just trying to figure out.
Louise or Chris, while he's doing that, do you have any questions, thoughts, comments?
One thing I noticed using it in the spring was you can only comment at the sentence level, and for my students I wanted to be able to assign them like annotating vocabulary words, and like if one kid has to look it up, they annotate it, but it was very hard to highlight an individual word or comment at the word.
That's a good question, yeah.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, we can technically do the word thing. We know how to do it if we wanted to, but we're afraid of siloing things too much, where you have, like, say you have some people discussing a sentence and then other people are discussing this word, but other people are discussing this phrase. So what we've suggested to people is to at the sentence, if everything has a summary line, we call it the summary line, that's up for debate, but the summary, and it's got the kind of the full comment. And if there's, for vocabulary and related kinds of uses, if the students put the vocabulary word at the beginning of the summary line, then everything will be very clear. This is the conversation about the word, anti-disestablishmentarianism, and this is the conversation about that other word, and it'd actually keep it pretty separate without creating a separate silo for that to be in. So that's what I would recommend that more than highlighting.
Can you show what you mean by the summary line?
Sure. Let's see. So let's say that, okay, I'm going to click, okay, this document is closed for comments, so let me go somewhere else. Sorry, I feel like we're time pressure.
No, it's okay. No, there's no pressure.
Okay, oh good. Oh, I'll take my time. Okay, so let's say the students don't know the word seeping. So every NowComment.
That's a good one.
Yep, every NowComment comment has these 2 fields. The first one is like seeping. What does it mean? And probably I would even maybe recommend putting in quotes. Does it mean? Sounds like something about liquid. And
yeah, And Dan, I just want to say, and/or you could have them put the definition in the top box.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. No, this would. Yeah.
But then, and because the definition's not enough, right? But then to kind of use it in the context in the bottom box. So lots of that dialectical kind of thinking is really useful.
Right. Oh, no.
Use it in lots of different ways. Yeah.
I was thinking of a case where, as the students were doing, one of the things that we haven't seen, I haven't seen people try this yet, but I always assume that one of the ways NowComment would get used is that as students were assigned something, maybe they would take the time to look it up, but they could also just ask a comment like here what I'm seeping, what is it, and they could ask the other kids, and it could be sort of a social experience where when someone had questions, also the other kids are helping each other. But yeah, if you want the students to take the time to look it up and that extra time and different modalities and all that kind of thing.
I was just making a even more general point. I think I heard you, but which is that I've used those two boxes in different ways at different times, right? With students. Right. But it's just like, okay, stop and do this. Now do this, whatever that is. Whether it's a summary, then a further comment, or if it's a question, and then So there are lots of ways to think about those two boxes, I think.
Yeah, and that's a really important point. There's nothing that says which one comes first. It's not like I tend to do it. I tend to write the first one first. Like I use the first field as what's my main idea? What's my point? What am I trying to communicate? If you had, elevator pitch. If I've got 30 seconds to live and I want to tell someone where the buried treasure is, I'm going to say, it's under the big oak on the parking lot. And then I may go which parking lot, and I may and I may explain it some more. But for me, I start out with the main idea and then I elaborate. And Paul's use tends to be, have the students write what they want to do or what they want to say, and then go back and kind of summarize it, or at least as I understand it, that's how some people use it. So it's very flexible.
Yeah.
So
I bounce. I pointed you to her before. Anne Berthoff's notions about dialectical note taking, I think, are really important in all this. But often I've used it to have them paraphrase what is in the sentence or paragraph first, and then say what they're thinking about it afterwards.
Well,
but totally, again, lots of possibilities.
Yeah, totally flexible. Does this, by the way, this thing about the vocabulary? So as you're going through, as people are skimming through the comments, when they get to paragraph 4, someone made a comment on it, and it's like, oh, steeping, what does it mean? Would this be a way to address the vocabulary question?
Luis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I was just writing to you. Yeah, the summary, that looks good. I can totally facilitate that.
Yeah, for us that pretty much eliminated the need to have either word by word or phrase kinds of and have different. Anyway, yeah, this just seemed like so far it's met the need. Okay.
So I'm going to make a transition. I hope you can find the image stuff to show us. Which is that what's great about NowComment, and I'd love for you to tell the story a little bit more, is that it's not finished, right? It's always, you're always evolving, you're always working with teachers and with others to kind of change it, and you work with the developer to do that. And can you say a little bit about where this idea came from, right before you show it? Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I'll keep it. I think I've talked about this a little bit on past ones, so I hate to repeat, but the gist of it.
What I mean is the image stuff. Yeah.
Image. Oh well, no, the image stuff is just, it's always been a frustration that like I said, the whole idea of NowComment is the context, and the pictures. When you looked at a picture and there were a bunch of comments, but you didn't know what the comments were. So let me bump up the. Can people see the screen clearly?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. What's new? I showed you this other thing before where this is the old NowComment. You've got 4 comments on this picture, but you have no idea what they are.
Yep.
And the new NowComment, if you can see, this is a kind of a translucent yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two comments, and there's two comments on this. And if I want to point out, like, what's this thing that the guy's carrying, holding, so I can start a new conversation. This is waving a cloth, and why is he doing that? And hopefully I might have more stuff to say. And anyway, so people can annotate, whatever part of the picture they want to have a conversation about, and that's really exciting to me. So that's the gist of. You can also, like with text, if the same way you could have a conversation, make a comment about the document in general. You can also make a comment about the picture in general. This is a ocean scene. I don't know. Not the best comment I've ever made. And we also now, let's see, this is these comments here. So there's one comment on the whole image. Well, yes, whole image label. And then there's two comments on this healthy-looking man over here. So anyway, for us, this is a really big step forward for people who are dealing with images. And by dealing with images, that might mean... Go ahead. Sorry, Bob.
Yeah, the way you talked about how highlighting can make a text look crowded.
Right.
I'm worried about that on an image, but it looks like you can turn the boxes off. Is that
Absolutely.
right?
There's this change display, and with exactly that idea in mind, you can hide the comment areas and you can hide the balloon.
Okay.
So anytime you want to, you have the clean experience of what the document, originally, what the artist meant or whatever, and then you can turn it back on.
Cool.
So that,
We're in your hands. Keep showing.
Okay. So just
unless anybody else has a question or thought.
Oh yeah, please jump in when there are questions.
Chris, do you have anything to add, or?
Well, I'm just following along because I teach photography, so obviously, it's a way for students to describe, different elements of their photos, like, some, one-point perspective or something, like they could talk about it, or others could comment on it. But then also, and it kind of goes back to the whole idea of fairness.com, seems like, a good way to, for my English classes, to decode kind of campaign images that are coming out.
Yeah. Terry was doing it. His I think favorite use was political cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I forgot that you did photography. We have photos as the number one, sort of the first idea that we thought of for annotating.
Mm-hmm.
For social studies histories teachers, doing stuff with maps is like pretty no-brainer, I think. Art history, some of you may have seen this painting before. Science and STEM kinds of applications, parts of the body, all that kind of stuff. And then this was done with Paul in mind. So for writing exercises where you want to have maybe some kind of writing prompt or illustrations of the scene or whatever, so you can use that to have the students annotate both the image and the writing. And just one just really conceptual point I won't spend a lot of time on, but I always think of NowComment as mainly a discussion tool, and sometimes people talk about it as an annotation tool. And the line for me, I don't have a real strong and clear distinction between the two. But for me, it's all about the interactive, having the conversation. And rather, it can certainly be used, I hope, really, really well.
That's what we say all the time about youth voices. But yeah, it sounds familiar, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, it's like a discussion board with the text there.
Well,
right?
I think Paul's made the comment a lot of times that of the various tools he's used It seems to be the most conversational. Stimulates the most interactive back and forth, whatever. And I think part of it is because another advantage of not using the highlighting thing is that we one of the reasons we suck the document onto our server is we do a grammatical parsing of it. So we break it up into paragraphs and sentences. Mm-hmm. And for poetry, you use line breaks to control the white space so it doesn't mess up. So there's not white space between every line. But anyway, so when you're a student or a teacher or anybody, and you're coming through and you see something, it's kind of an 80-20 rule or a 90-10 rule, that like most of the time people are talking about sentences and paragraphs. And even when you're talking about a word, it works to talk about that word or that phrase as being part of a sentence. So you don't have to highlight and kind of break your train of thought. When I see something, I can just except comments aren't accepted here. As I'm scrolling through the document, length of time matters. What? That's ridiculous. I can just double-click really fast and start writing while the idea is fresh in my mind, and it's one less barrier. So anyway, I always thought that was a significant thing in making it a conversational, social kind of a tool.
Worth mentioning also, I was imagining Chris's students, photography students, putting up an image and having 3 other students comment on that image. They could then take that and embed it on a Youth Voices post. So all this stuff is pretty embeddable, something which I begged Dan to create a couple years ago. So
yes, that was embed is Paul's. That's feature 4 of Paul's.
So I'm not taking credit. I'm just saying, yeah.
No. It's something you kind of nudged us to put it higher to the top of the list.
Yeah.
If you embedded it, how would it look like? Would it show the boxes and the comments, or would those be off? Or
I think embedding it. I think it's a sort of an iframe, and I think you're getting all the functionality.
It's embedded. It's embedded as combined.
It's combined.
Yes.
Okay.
Click on that button. So the comments are right underneath.
Like the image.
Paragraph. Yeah.
The image would come through without anything, or with the annotations?
With the annotations.
Is Terry still here?
Yes.
Yeah. Terry, you embedded NowComment image in your blog.
Yeah, I embedded it in my WordPress blog, and it. There were problems. I mean, it embeds as a whole thing, okay, and it functions as a whole thing, but it didn't fit. And I tried to mess with the iframe to see if I could. And I tried to mess with the width of the WordPress, frame. So my theme wasn't quite compatible with the size of the embed. But it did work.
Yeah, but important to clarify though, you picked a really challenging. It was a multi-panel cartoon. It was like a really big cartoon.
Oh yeah, it was huge.
Even if it was huge, and even if we weren't embedding it, we would have had trouble displaying the whole thing, even just on our page.
Yeah, most embeds work pretty well.
I just want to not leave the wrong impression. Yeah. I think if you're something like this, if it's a standard size, some kind of an image that would be in a document anyway, I think it'll be just really pretty and fine without any problems.
I had a question for you, Dan.
Sure.
In the text, the comment boxes, is there any way? I haven't tested this. Maybe you have this functionality, but a lot of other, like Hypothesis, allows you to have some rich text embedding in those comment boxes, like videos and animated GIFs and pictures. So I was thinking, as far as Chris is concerned, he might have a picture, and then he might want his students to comment with another picture in the style of, for example, where they would actually create another photo that was like that, or their interpretation of that. So they would want to embed. They would want to put a picture in the comment. Can this do that, or is that a bridge too far right now? Well,
yeah, it's half a bridge. we know how to do it, and it wouldn't be very hard. It wouldn't cost much money to do it. We haven't had many requests for it yet, and we've been leery of doing it for two reasons. One is just the storage. We pay for our own storage and everything, and storage is cheap nowadays and all that. But if it got popular and a lot of people were uploading lots and lots of photos, that might get interesting. And the other thing is just security. Right now, we strip out most stuff, and we would have to, we just have to worry about security. So until there's a need or a demand for it, we just haven't gone there. But if someone had a really compelling application, and particularly if they gave us maybe a few $100s, that'd be great. And we do it pretty fast because we know how to do it.
It's just that there's more ways to respond than just text.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I've found that, especially true in Hypothesis, it's particularly effective. I mean, there's a whole category of GIFs called response GIFs. And I think it's worth investigating because our students are moving towards multimodal and beyond text itself. In fact, English itself has moved beyond that, and they claim text. They own all text, right? I mean, everything is text. Pictures are text. Videos are text.
Yeah.
Well, it's all.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear, and especially I guess with emojis, we really have to deal with that too. So yeah.
Oh,
No, I have no doubt that's coming, quote unquote soon. But we've just been doing other stuff.
Okay.
Good question.
The links are hot though, right? Within a comment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and embedding. The other thing I should mention, which I just never occurred to me to do it before, but how you can upload Word documents, and those are. Paul mentioned something that I find in general most things upload pretty easily, especially Word documents or Open Office documents. They'll be really clean and easy. We've improved that, by the way. Both PDFs and Word documents are significantly improved over what they were maybe a year ago. Lists and stuff come through nicely. But anyway, what you can do is if you have a Word or Open Office document or just something else, we'll upload it to NowComment. We do a conversion to HTML, and then
Nice.
we show you the preview page to see how your document looks if you want to tweak it, if you want to edit something. What you can do is you can stick in an embed code into what was a Word document, and you have just a really quick and easy way of putting either or image source tags or whatever. You can mark up some sort of boring text documents with as many embedded videos and images as you want, and it's a quick and easy way to do that. There's other ways to do it, but this is as quick and easy as I've ever seen. Before I run out of time, should I show
Yeah, let's get the video. Yeah, go.
video? Yeah, because I want to.
Video and audio, I guess, right?
Well, it's audio in the sense right now the video only works with YouTube. So if it's audio that's on YouTube, totally cool. If it's SoundCloud or something else, then right now it doesn't work, but it won't be long before it does.
Okay.
Before more things work. But right now it's only YouTube. So here's what that. Oh, let me get back to two-pane images. Except when you're talking about embedding, images and videos work better in the two-pane mode. Okay, so just like I didn't really focus on it, but this is this blue toolbar. Tells you what that's the controls for image commenting, and then we've got the same thing, much simpler for video commenting. So this is you've always been able to play videos in NowComment, but what you can do now is let's just say I'm cheating here. Let's say I'm listening to all this 15. Okay, and then something interesting happens at 24 seconds. So what you can do is you just go to add comment, and you say at current time, and you say Jesse is yawning or something, and then you have as much room as you want for more thoughts. And you see this number one, this comment here.
Mm-hmm.
This is at the 24-second mark. Jesse is yawning. So what we've done is we've basically added this little gray area underneath the YouTube media player. So while you're watching and listening to the video, you can see where all the comments are.
Can you scroll back and then play that so we can see? Does it pop up or what happens?
If we click it,
yeah,
it doesn't. Well, we didn't for now. At least Rev 1, I envisioned a lot of situations where people would just want to see what the comments were. So it doesn't play it right away, but once it puts you, when you click on it, it takes you to that spot, and then you can hit the play button if you want to play it there.
That makes sense, yeah.
But what you can do is you can scroll around and see what people's comments are.
So you're playing a video and we're hearing it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So we just figured.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's not a comment on NowComment. It's a comment on how we're streaming right now. Just a side issue, because in Hangouts that didn't used to work. But go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Say that again. What didn't?
In Hangouts that didn't used to work.
I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, and like NowComment too. Let's say this comment here at this, and we have these headers, these labels, so it organizes the comments. So at 24, Jesse's yawning, but if someone else wants to say, well, at 24, that's when I noticed that his face got dirty. Face is looking dirty.
Oh, so you can start a new one at the same place.
You can, just like everything else in NowComment, you can have, like, with a picture, with a sentence, with a paragraph, you can have one conversation about one thing and another conversation about another thing, and they're kept nice and separate and efficient, and they're really good conversations. So now there's two comments on here, and if you click it, then there's the Jesse is yawning conversation, and there's the face is looking dirty conversation, and then people join by replying whichever one they want, or they can start a third conversation.
So right now, just to clarify again, and it's a YouTube sort of to make sure it all works and so forth, so we can use YouTube. I think you've said to me you're going to Vimeo next, and I suggested it'd be great to get some C-SPAN in there too, but so each of these things requires another bit of development. Is that how it works?
Right. I mean, what we're doing is we're using the APIs of each of these services. So we have to integrate, this service with NowComment, that service with NowComment. We don't have to do that with the pictures. That natively. So you can throw up, anyone's JPEG, anyone's PNG, anyone's SVG. But the video is because we're showing it. The idea was we're showing it right in the media player. Sorry, I can't talk. We're showing it right in the media player. And in order to do that, we really have to kind of get in close with their API and their code, and that's why it has to be site by site. For now, at least that's the best we've figured out so far.
So just to say, if somebody says, look, I can annotate a YouTube video already, right? The important thing I think here, we said it already, but I want to keep saying it, is that it's a discussion board with the annotation and the text right, like all together, and that's what makes it special, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean for me, there's really two things. The first is that you can do it. Let me change the order again, and I know I'm super prejudiced, and I'm not trying to be my own fanboy here particularly, but I really think in a lot of ways, most ways, I don't know. I mean, I really think NowComment really has the most features and is the most powerful, in whatever that means, of commenting tools. So in the sense that, like, even though you can do something, you could do it with this tool or you could do it with that tool. The question is, like, well, what kinds of things do you want to do? And if you want to be able to do the sorting, generating reports, like, for a whole term's worth of student comments, this thing, that thing, the LTI integration, with your LMS. Anyway, so
And I could add to that there's a slot on the profiles on Youth Voices to put a link to your NowComment page, right? So it collects everybody's comment, all of the work you've done on NowComment that way too.
Yeah, and you have that on Youth Voices, and we have a built-in blogging capability. It's a primitive, nothing fancy. But if if you're a teacher in your classroom, you can either let each student the students, whenever they want to, they can just make their own blog with a click of a button, and they choose which of their NowComment documents do they want to be part of the blog.
Yeah.
So the students can have their own blogs, and the class can have a class blog where everyone's contributing the best things to the class blog. But
so Dan,
sure.
We have just a few minutes left. I want to kind of circle around and hear teachers' voices here at the end.
Absolutely.
I mean, just to say, but I love that Teachers Teaching Teachers over the years has been a place where developers work with teachers and it goes back and forth. So thank you for being such a good listener to all of us.
Oh,
but let's hear some. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I just said you guys have great ideas, so we're happy to be here.
Yeah. So let's just hear. Joe, are you still there? Joe Pariso, in the background with her child. Nope, I hear you unlocking, dude. And just sort of looking forward, what do you hope? It was interesting that you did that one story, and then I don't think you did any more with NowComment. But you might be thinking now, it's a process, right? Getting used to stuff like this.
Yeah, I kind of used it as my way of figuring it out first, and then I think I needed a year to reflect and mull it over. But I do.
Be patient, Dan. We're getting.
Yeah, be patient. But I am looking forward to. It might be as early as next week. It might be a couple weeks because the short story unit's 6 weeks. Just messing around with it. I didn't know that there was that function of basically curating all of the students' comments like that. That kind of that was cool. I can see a lot of things being done with portfolios there. So, yeah, looking forward to it. I might need some support, Dan.
Absolutely.
Cool.
That would be fun.
Just throw it to Chris Sloan for a second.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm, like I said earlier, I think about the photography my students do, and then the media they produce, and they put it on YouTube. So it seems like there's ways for students to comment about their own content, but then it's just, I mentioned the fairness.com before, it just seems like this political season is like ripe with, it's going to be interesting to study both the images that candidates put out and then, their commercials and their videos, and so, I mean, that's kind of what I'm mulling
That's
over
a cool
right now,
idea.
how to make that work in my class.
Yeah, you can. I mean, having X candidate give a speech and have the transcript there, and having a couple photographs or T-shirts worn at their rallies or whatever, you can make pretty compelling media artifacts.
Luis, any thoughts? Thanks for joining us tonight, by the way.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy watching the students annotate. They're very, very engaged in articles that would normally be above their level. I feel like if I handed it to them on paper, it would have one result, and on NowComment, it feels totally different. And I know that sometimes it's superficial and it's just excitement about the technology, but I don't care. It's great, and their comments, a lot of them are really engaging. I tried to use.
And Luis, I would add that I think it's especially we have similar struggling readers and maybe different reasons, but I think it's also because it gives the reader a clear scaffold for what should I do when I read this text. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you just give the text to them, like, oh, what do I do with this? So, but yeah.
I used Genius a couple years ago, which I liked. The students really liked it because it did have that you were able to annotate with pictures and images. But then when I went on this here, it looks like it's just a hip hop Lyric's website now. I couldn't find any of the capabilities like NowComment does with Genius.
Yep. But yeah, cool tool at different times too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Terry.
One thing I'm going to be using NowComment for is for professional self-reflection. I usually make, before I start my class in the day, I'm lucky enough to teach all my classes at the university level in one classroom. So right behind me, on a whiteboard, I just make notes about all the potential things that we could talk about. And then I'll take a short video, maybe a minute long, where I'll kind of move around the whiteboard and video that. And then I upload that to YouTube. So, you know, how easy is it to just grab that YouTube video, put it into NowComment, and then basically reflect on how things went, what worked, what didn't, why didn't I even do that? Oh, I forgot to do that. So that it's just kind of a quick check on what you're doing and what you might want to do in the next class. And of course, with images, you can do the same thing with assignments. You can simply take a picture of the assignment that you made on the board, and then you can comment on the picture for your students if they missed a class. Or so there's a lot of real practical stuff you can use it for in the class. And I really like the self-reflective. I've done that before with Vialogs, and I think this will be even better.
Very cool. Lots of ideas. Thank you. So when you hear is it going to be next week, Dan? Come on.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Dan's got a press release coming up next week.
It will be. It's coming up this week, and we're very excited.
No, it's cool. And thank you for giving us a preview here. And you know, I think Joe mentioned that she's going to go in and mess around herself. I think that's what we all have to do, is kind of see how things work, and then we'll know how to use it with our students. Great. Cool.
Paul, before I forget,
sure.
Can you add on to the Etherpad what I emailed you before? I don't know if that has to be fun.
I will do that, and I'll also put it under the YouTube place where this will live. And I'll do that.
Okay, thanks.
Because that has links to some things you just had here?
Exactly.
Okay, good. Okay,
well, yeah, thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Everybody. We'll be here next week again. We're here every Wednesday, part of the EdTech Talk channel of the World Bridges Network that Dave Cormier and Jeff Lebo set up. Thank you all, and good evening.
Good night.
Night.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Good night.